I'm Jose Pablo Cantillo, and I'm with my number one fan of Free Me, Cindy, and you're watching the Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @Dave Sheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to episode 47 of the Dave and Creech Show. I am your host for this episode, Creech. Normally at this point we are joined by Dave Sheridan, my co-host. However, as has happened a couple of times in the past, it's been a very busy time. First off, guys, I want to apologize for the delay. It's been a rough start to the year for me and Dave. We've been very busy, which obviously busy is good, but between colds and careers, it's been really hard to get this time to do this. As a matter of fact, the reason Dave's not on, I guess I'll go ahead and share with everybody, is if you remember the past couple episodes, well, probably not the past couple, but we've mentioned quite a few times on various episodes that Dave has shot a project for a upcoming horror movie sequel, and he actually had to fly back to LA to do some reshoots on it. So he's over there working on that film right now. And I actually had a really bad cold, which I'm hoping you don't hear me trying to breathe too hard in the interview later on with Rory, because my nose was stopped up, so it was really hard to talk and then focus on breathing at the same time. But it's a necessary evil. I'm doing better now, obviously, and I just got back from Atlanta myself. I had to go out of town. We did some press work at Days of the Dead Atlanta. I will talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit of news, and of course, I've already mentioned we have Rory Uphold that's going to be our guest on the show today. It's going to be a fantastic episode. We'll miss Dave, but in the end, we'll get over it. And Dave will more than likely be back on next week's episode. So first things first, what have I been up to? I mean, I know I've just filled you in on what me and Dave have been doing, but I'll give you a little bit more in-depth detail, as you're probably like, oh, okay, Days of the Dead. Yeah, we just had Adolfo Dorta from Days of the Dead on the show talking about the whole convention, not just Atlanta, but Indy and all the other cities that they do. However, me and Lexi just got back from doing press at another of his conventions, which is Atlanta. We did Atlanta in 2015, and we did Atlanta in 2016. And guys, I just want to take a moment and not only congratulate Adolfo on a fabulous and successful Atlanta show, but I just have to mention, if you're an Atlanta local, you didn't quite get to make it this year, take some time out, save some money, do what you got to do. You definitely should check out these shows. I mean, and it's in other cities around America as well. I highly recommend it. Doing it as press, we interview actors, we get to photograph cosplayers, things like that. And just the fan base that attends these shows is just amazing. Like, it's the only place besides in your head or in an insane asylum that you can literally see a bunch of people dressed wildly inappropriately, but it fits. Or even, just see 3 or 4 Freddy Kruegers, walking. See a Jason holding hands with a Freddy. It's a very weird image, but in the end, it actually does work pretty well. And obviously, if you want to meet some of the actors from your favorite stuff, I mean, they have classic horror actors. I got to catch up with our former guest, Bill Moseley, and they have some of the new and upcoming guests like myself. I mean, I was there technically not as a guest of Strip Club Massacre, but I did film a role. And actually, I got my DVD copy, guys, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. But you also, the it thing right now in horror, or even, I guess you could say, film, television. I don't even know what technically Netflix is considered. I guess it's considered streaming. I mean, because Netflix makes movies and TV shows, but it's not on a TV unless you have a smart TV. But I digress. The Stranger Things kids were there, and honestly, it was really super cool to get to chat with them. Some of the nicest kids around. It's nice to see that as big as that show has gotten, and it has gotten huge, these kids have not let the fame and stardom and everything go to their heads. It's a breath of fresh air. And once again, special thanks to Days of the Dead. We had an absolute blast there. You're gonna hear in a couple of weeks me versus Lexi going head to head in interviews to see who could do the best interview with Strip Club Massacre cast and crew. And it's actually pretty fun, and it's something I really enjoyed doing. Now, speaking of Strip Club Massacre, obviously we've been talking about it for the past year. We've covered everything from the original initial interview to actually me going down to Atlanta and shooting a role on it, and to now where we're at, and the movie's completed. I've got a DVD copy, and on March 17th, there is going to be a screening at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta, and you can get your tickets on Eventbrite. It's going to be $17 for the ticket, which really isn't that bad considering you're supporting indie horror. And come on, guys, it's a fantastic film. I mean, it has me in it, so that, I mean, there's bonus points in that. I've seen it, and I can verify that Strip Club Massacre is everything that the title promises, and dare I say even more. So make sure, if you're not doing anything, if you want to come out, meet me, who knows, you might see Dave Sheridan there. It depends on if we can get him down there. You might be able to meet both Dave and Creech and watch an awesome movie with not only us, but the entire cast and crew of Strip Club Massacre. And once again, that is March 17th in Atlanta. Tickets are $17. Just go to Eventbrite, keyword Strip Club Massacre. Well, we're going to go from Strip Club Massacre over to a news article that I actually got. And normally, I don't like going over news articles because with Dave on the show, sometimes it's just better to get both of our reactions. However, I don't think with his size, this one would really affect him as much. So I'm going to go ahead and go over one of the news articles that I had found throughout this week, and it was actually happened in New York 4 years ago. So it happened quite a while ago. However, it's still very terrifying, and something that me and maybe people my size, can worry about, and honestly, some of us may already fear. The title of it is 300-Pound Woman Falls Through New York City Sidewalk. Now, what had happened was a 31-year-old Queens woman took a 7-foot plunge right through a Manhattan sidewalk Friday night. The unidentified 300-plus pounder had to be rescued by firefighters and emergency crews who had to resort to using sophisticated equipment, according to the New York Post. Reportedly, the woman was standing against a wall trying to get out of the rainy weather while waiting for a bus, when suddenly, witnesses stated the sidewalk just caved in beneath her. Now, you know what? That sounds absolutely frightening, being that I am definitely well over 300 pounds. And if you were to actually walk with me out in public, and I am one of those people that I can't even step on a sewer grate, because, one, I do have a fear of heights and falling, so I try to avoid any of those kind of open holes, sewers, the grates, anything that looks like if you could step on it, there's a possibility that it could fall through. I don't step on it. So the idea of falling, my worst fears being realized, at least through this lady, it's horrifying. Because, one, it took them 4 hours or some change to get her out. Like, imagine, like, me. Like, I'm trying to put myself in there. I've been in New York. And for just the sidewalk to crumble, they said it was due to the sidewalk's age and the deteriorating conditions of it. However, me being a big guy, that scares the living daylights out of me. And I have to say that that's one of the things that, as a smaller person, you may take for granted, is that most of the times you don't have to worry about falling through anything unless, obviously it's severely weak. But for us bigger people, stuff like this is just absolutely horrifying, because I could, this is coming from somebody. I've sat in chairs that have literally disintegrated as soon as I sat down on them, and just thinking of doing something as normal as walking, and then suddenly you're trapped under who knows what, and you're going to be the talk of the town for them having to get a giant tarp to pull you up with a crane or anything like that. That's where my mind goes. But I can only imagine the pain and suffering this lady went through. But thankfully it was 4 years ago, so hopefully she's over it by now. But it was just one of the things that I saw that I was like, you know what? I can relate to that. Not because I've been falling down any sidewalks, even in New York City. I just, as a big person, that's one of my fears, and I can only assume is probably, for bigger people, a constant thought in the back of their head. Actually, and speaking of, I had something like this over the weekend when I was down in Atlanta for Days of the Dead. I was shooting a commercial for the Walkin Dead Harralson Tours, and for those not familiar, or actually for those familiar with it, it's the location they used in the show where Merle died, and Daryl cried for, I believe, the first of millions of times since then. But it's a really great location, as it used to be an old feed mill back in the day. As a matter of fact, you can still see all of the old signage on it, where it's called the Esco's Feed Mill. It's just a really creepy, to a degree, and awesome place. You go step there, and it's kind of cool because they do tours, obviously, but they let you recreate scenes, because there was a lot that was actually filmed, not just for one episode, but for multiple episodes of The Walking Dead, have been filmed in this little itty-bitty area. But not just The Walking Dead, there's other movies and stuff too. So they're wanting to expand, they're wanting to get the word out, because they're only 5 to 10 minutes away from Sonoy, where they currently film The Walking Dead, at least where Alexandria is at and where Woodbury was at. So, we were shooting this ad, and part of it takes place almost in a Walking Dead type universe. It's these group of survivors that are very closely resembled after Rick and his gang. And so, we're doing some run-of-the-mill, your standard zombie stuff. You've got shots of zombies, you've got a lot of running, a lot of shooting, and a lot of walking in formation, hand signs, stuff like that. And there's this scene where they're coming around the back of the feed mill, and there was this hole in the ground that literally was only tarped or blocked off by these steel poles. And I took one look at him, and, not even just talking about, as we just spoke about in the news, I was not going to walk on that, even as a cameraman, because I was filming. So I wanted to get a shot of them walking under this overhang in the back, but I didn't want to walk over the actual metal poles. And, I even kind of tentatively put a foot down, and I was like, no. One of my friends, Kyle, he's a bigger guy, but he's not nowhere near as big as me. He wound up braving it and walking it, and the middle one, sure enough, was really wobbly, and he almost, if he didn't watch where his step was, he was going to go down. But thankfully he didn't. Nobody wound up on the bottom, except for a fake zombie hand that we stuck up through it. And now we have this great shot of them walking. He actually walks right on it. He's looking, if you pay attention when it comes out, he's actually looking to make sure he doesn't misplace his feet and make sure he also doesn't step on the center one. And everybody else kind of walks around it. And my daughter was actually one of the characters in it, and I was like, I made sure, Even though, yeah, she's like 30, 40 pounds, there was no way I was going to let her walk over that. But, yeah, it's kind of funny that I would see this now after just reliving that experience and my personal opinions on this subject this past weekend. Up next is my interview with Rory Uphold. Now, Rory is a talented actress slash comedian slash singer. I mean, you can Google her, IMDb her. We're going to talk about the channels that you can follow her on and her former shows that she has up on YouTube. Some great ones like Hell A. We're going to talk all of that and where you can see her next. Once again, Rory is a great, great person. I loved talking to her. Without any further ado, here's Rory Uphold on Dave and Creech.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for coming on to our show today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I do want to go ahead and apologize for last week. I know you had to wait on the line for a little bit, and I know that really sucks because the music that this conference call thing uses is absolutely horrible.
It's all good.
So how are things going for you today? I believe are you in between shooting right now?
I'm like headed to an audition. I don't know if that's what you mean. Like at this specific moment, or just like in general.
Just just in general. I know Zach had mentioned you were shooting some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always shooting LA, and right now I'm doing kind of like writing. I'm in development on a script, and I'm waiting on network notes, and I also I have a script deal for a Snapchat show for a network, like on the Discovery app, or the Discovery part of the app. So I'm also writing that. So I'm kind of like in a weird in-between phase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like you've got you're wearing many different hats right now.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and you just got back from Sundance too, isn't that correct?
Yeah, that was real fun. Yeah, I did their inaugural New Voices Lab I guess it was technically last year. It was in winter 2016, which was really incredible.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned Hell A, and there's 2 seasons out right now, so this would be the 3rd season you're working on, correct?
Yeah, although I think at this point I probably won't look at it as seasons. I think that I'll just start to release things here and there. The internet has just changed so much in the last couple of years that I don't know that approaching it in terms of like traditional kind of mainstream media is necessarily what's appropriate anymore.
Very true. Yeah, I actually got a chance in the past week to check out the first 2 seasons. I believe I think there's 12 episodes in the first one and 8, I think, in the second one, but they were absolutely hilarious.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I honestly don't even know how many there are.
Now when you were when you were creating that, were you basing most of it off of what you saw, living in LA, or where did the writing aspect of that come into play?
Yeah, the episodes a lot of them are based off of things that have happened to me or my friends. Some of them are just things that are comments on LA. Like there's one with Cameron Connerty and Jessica Lucas at the Home Depot, and like that hasn't happened to me, but I'm sure it has happened to somebody. And it was more just a comment on race in LA. But the Botox or tanning or any of those kind of episodes have definitely happened to me.
Oh yeah, and let's see, I believe the last episode I saw, I think that was the last one you released, was the one with Sophia Bush and the dark tanning.
Oh yeah, that was the first one I think we put out of season 2. Yeah, that was a fun one to shoot. She was kind enough to come play with me for the day.
Yeah, and as another actor, I mean, Dave is definitely the more successful of the Dave and Creech Show. I'm just kind of getting into the industry. As you know, making this web series, you have the celebrities that come onto the show. Is it fairly easy, would you say, to round up them? Do you go through agents? How was the process of getting the guest on your show?
Yeah, everybody that's on the show, I guess not everybody, but 99% of those people are just friends of mine, and so I would just shoot them a text or would be out, and it'd be like a casual conversation. There were a few people I didn't know, and I would reach out to them. Like I didn't know Joe, who's Mystery Guitar Man on YouTube, but I thought he was great, and I wanted to work with him, so I shot him an email, and he agreed to do it, and we met, and became friends because of it. But generally speaking, like everybody that it's a fun passion project. So the people who are doing it just want to have fun and are friends of mine.
Yes, and it's actually overall, like everything, production, writing, it's all pretty much on point. I've watched many a web show or web series on YouTube, and some of them can be pretty bad. But yeah, everything is pretty fantastic on there.
Hey, well, I work with a great crew of people. I mean, it tends to stay pretty consistent. Not everybody's available all the time, but my DP Jason shot most of it. My friend Connor shot an episode, and these are all guys that my friend Matt edited. We do the whole thing together. He has edited every episode of LA, and they work. They have other jobs, and they do this even though it's like way below their kind of pay and title, because they're great and kind, and we have fun doing it. But yeah, I'm lucky to be surrounded by a bunch of talented people.
Now, you've also got a couple of other web series I noticed that you shot. I didn't get to check those out yet.
Yeah, I've made a web series. I created a series that was on Elite Daily called This Is Why We're Single. And then that's probably it in terms of web series. I've been in some, but those are the two that I created.
Okay, and you've also been playing small parts in some other movies.
Yeah.
Are you just? I guess the first question would be, how long have you been living in LA? Were you born in California, or did you?
I'm a native Angelino.
Awesome. So you got to experience everything growing up, all the awesomeness of LA.
It's true. Yeah.
See, I was born on the complete other side of the United States, where there is a Hollywood. There is a Hollywood in South Carolina, but it's full of people missing a bunch of teeth and not as glamorous.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know.
See, Dave is slowly experiencing that too, as my guest does. He's actually in your neck of the woods right now. He lived in LA for 15 years, shot Scary Movie and quite a few movies over there. He just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
He's building a house down here, but he actually went back to LA. He's shooting a movie right now. He's doing reshoots. So he's
cool.
Yeah, he's in your neck of the woods. Now, one of the things that our listeners love to hear is, the stories of how you got into the business, any hits, tricks, tips, anything that helped you advance in your career that maybe could help them out.
Well, let's see. I guess I started in music, so I was working in music before I went back to acting and started writing and directing. But I guess, I wasn't satisfied with what was happening in my career in terms of being an actor. And I think what's difficult as an actor is you're often waiting for people to give you opportunities. So I decided to start creating my own. And I started small with short films and with LA. And, you know, the first season of LA I shot in, I think, 3 or 4 days. Like, I shot multiple episodes a day to keep the production costs down, and used my friends and tried to make something that was authentic to my voice, that was specific, but also improve on what I'd seen. You know, I wasn't a huge fan of a ton of web things, and I think that for me, a lot of stuff dragged on too long, so I created something that I wanted to see. I think, like, I guess my advice would be to try and figure out what is authentic to you and how can you build on that and share it with other people. And I guess that's, like, I don't know if that's good advice, but that's, I guess, what I would say. And I guess, you know, you can't stop working. There's always somebody that's going to work harder than you. I get that there's a balance, but I wake up every day kind of thinking, like, what can I do today to make sure that I'm still around tomorrow?
All right. And would you say, you know, as with Twitter, as you mentioned, Snapchat and all them, do you think it's important for anybody wanting to advance to have some sort of presence on social media?
You know, I think it's important to be talented. I think that, like, a lot of it's marketing, and those things are great, and some people are, like, they excel in those areas. But at the end of the day, it's like, you want to be a writer, you better be a great writer. And if you want to be an actor, you better be a great actor. And then worry about the social media, then worry about the marketing. Because I think that there's a lot of emphasis on all of those things, and yet I wonder kind of what people are doing in order to, like, train and actually be good at the job that they pretend or actually want.
All right. And as you mentioned, with creating LA and keeping funding down by shooting multiple episodes per day. Now, for those series, how did you go about getting the funds? Did you do Kickstarters, Indiegogo? I raised
$20,000 on Kickstarter for season 2 of LA, and I paid for the first season myself, and I was able to do that because I did keep the cost down.
Awesome. So definitely using tools like that definitely helps get your, you know, not only projects funded, but lets you actually realize your dreams of making web series and films and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Now, with season 3, are you going to be doing any sort of crowdfunding for that?
No, I think my crowdfunding days are gone for a minute. You know, at this point, I'll shoot things when I can, but I have so many other jobs that I'm getting paid to do that if I have to, like, budget, I'll just pay for it myself. You know, I like to make things. Like, I make short films not because anybody's paying me, but because I really love to, and I figure out a way to make it work. And that might mean I can't, like, make something that's super epic with a ton of, you know, graphics or effects, but I actually just love the process of making film, whether that's, you know, film or digital. So that's, like, what I want to do. I'll find a way to do it.
Well, that's awesome, for sure. But, yeah, so what do we have to look forward to in the future from Rory? What are your long-term goals?
Oh, well, you know, hopefully I'm working on a half hour, like I said, so hopefully we'll see one of my creations on television. I have a Snapchat show that called Thirsty Thursdays with Rory that would hopefully come out in the spring on Snapchat, and I will will continue to make digital things. I'm in a movie called Bodied that comes out in the spring.
Okay, so basically they can, any of the listeners can check you out pretty much on quite a few different mediums. And as we, been talking about, you're also on YouTube with
Vimeo.
And you're on Vimeo and Twitter, I believe, at Rory Uphold.
Yeah, that's my Twitter.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to promote while we have you on?
World peace.
World peace. Yes, we that is something that needs to be done, especially here in America. We need peace here too, but yeah, our president isn't doing a good job of that.
Well, I think we all need to come together and love each other a little bit better.
I agree, and I feel like that's definitely a good place to end it as well. End it with love, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if we talk about Trump for much longer, then it gets
Yeah.
bad.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did conducting it. We're kind of running out of things to talk about today, but actually I feel like the theme of this episode is kind of delay, since we were delayed 2 weeks with this podcast. The interview we did with Rory was about a week ago, actually, from the moment I'm recording this audio. So, with The Walking Dead returning this Sunday, the new season, any of our listeners that may have noticed that we never did a Walking Dead wrap-up on episodes 7 and 8, well, truth be told, we did do one. For some reason, it's just been pushed back due to time constraints on our other recent episodes. But we shot one for episode 45, and it didn't go for episode 45. So now we're on episode 47, and we are going to play the Walking Dead wrap-up with me and featured Walker on The Walking Dead, Alyssa Mullan, discussing episodes 7 and 8. And it's really just a good time to air this, if you think about it, because this will get you ready for this Sunday when The Walking Dead returns at 9 on AMC.
So we're technically discussing 7 and 8. I didn't watch 7 again, but I don't think anything of major importance happened.
I watched part of 7.
Huh?
Yeah. I said I watched part of 7 last night, but then I fell asleep, so.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm in the same boat as you.
All I remember of 7 is Daryl getting the key at the end, and Carl, shooting the Saviors.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the whole Carl episode and Negan burning, what was it, that one chick's boyfriend's face. All that happened.
Yeah, like that whole episode was nothing. Well, it was really just the comic book incarnate, because
Oh, yeah.
that's probably as far as I can remember, that's probably the closest that we've seen of almost a legit adaptation for an entire episode from the comic.
Yeah, it was great. Well, it had to be, almost, You can't deviate from that moment too much. It is what it is. You don't touch it. And they didn't. And it turned out pretty good. Negan is classic as usual. But he's got a weird relationship with Carl. So I'm interested to see where that goes on the show. I mean, I've caught up with the comics recently, so I mean, I have an idea, but they never keep things the same, so.
Yeah, and it's I actually, now it's coming back to me when I watched episode 7, because I watched it after we watched like a wrestling pay-per-view, and I remember my friend, since we were watching it DVR'd, he could not stop laughing about the whole baseball, or Lucille scene where he's like, baseball bat doesn't have a pussy. He probably rewound it 4 or 5 times and just could not stop laughing.
Yeah, he's just, he's something else, I tell you.
Yeah, there's that. And
well, and then that's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, I mean, definitely episode 7 really set up the finale pretty well, because the people that we focused on in episode 7, we were once again focusing on in episode 8.
Right. It seemed more together. Like, I mean, we still had Maggie at the hilltop and everything, but everybody didn't feel so scattered, you know? So it flowed better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, the mid-season finale was good. My only gripe with it, and it doesn't really affect how I view the episode as a whole, it's just the scene in particular with Spencer. In the comics, they're alone doing this stuff. You know, they have some of Negan's men there. So I thought it was weird that they were, like, out in the middle of the street playing pool, and that, like, everybody started gathering around, and, like, I don't know, I just thought, obviously they set it up like that so that Olivia, you know, Rosita could act out and Olivia could get killed, but still, I just wish that would have been an in-private moment.
Yeah, no,
with
I agree.
Spencer, and then gut him in the street, you know, gut him in the street, and then everybody will see, and what the hell is going on, you know, type of reaction.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know, it didn't really bother me too much the first time, but yeah, I had just finished watching it, before we got on the call to talk about it, and yeah, that was the same thing, like, you know, here comes Jordan Woods Robinson and Tobin, Jason Douglas and everybody, and it's just like, what are they doing out here? Do they really just want to, like, they're supposed to be like afraid of Negan, and they're like, well, let's watch him play pool. And plus it's not
it was just so weird.
It's like, and Spencer's not like a big character like Rick or everything, where they'd be like, okay, why is Rick playing pool with this guy? It'd just be Spencer, so I can't figure out why they did that either. And then I reread the comic, because actually that's one of the very few issues I have, is the one where he actually kills Spencer. And yeah, it's, you know, totally different in a sense. I mean, the words and obviously the actions are the same, but the setting is completely different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right. They took the effort to drag a pool table out to the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Should have just kept it in the house. Seems like a pain in the ass.
But then again, maybe that's why they came out. They're like, what the hell? Like, why are they doing
right.
this? Maybe they were gonna,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe they were getting ready to revolt. They thought Negan was taking their table away.
Right. yeah. I don't know. You know, and Rosita's response or reaction to it was just so stupid. She doesn't like Spencer anyway, right? I mean, she's been, like, talking mad shit to him, you know, and she knows how he's, like, shady. You know, he's kept the guns, and he was sneaking supplies, and, you know, she made the comment about how he's probably got a truck full of stuff, so go run to it. I mean, and then at the end, you know, she kind of had that where they were going to get together for dinner, and then she has this outburst when he gets killed, like, oh, well, you didn't like him anyway, so why are you so upset to react like that? But obviously she's still just so... I mean, what's the time frame now that it's since Abraham's been killed? She still, it seems like she's following her anger blindly, is what it seems like still, so...
Yeah,
I don't know.
My one complaint, and I mean, it's about Rosita too, but it's about pretty much all of the female characters on this show currently, is I don't know when it changed, because for a long time, like, the writing of the females was pretty strong, but now it seems like they've turned every female into, like, this widower, where, like, if you get with her, you die, because Sasha's lining up a list of bodies of people who've been with her or wanted to get with her, and now Rosita's got 2 on her list, Maggie's got 1, you know, it's just like, the men aren't really losing their significant others unless you're Rick, and, like, the women are just stacking up these fatalities of people who they've been with. Like, you don't get out of a relationship normally with them.
Right. Yeah, I just,
But, I mean, I guess I can't complain too much because at least Rosita is getting some sort of a story at this point.
That's true. I think we did say before how she was kind of, like, not given enough of a background story and current story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, she's definitely irrational. I mean, you've had two separate instances to think of this. I mean, you had Eugene telling you it may not necessarily be you that gets killed for trying to kill him or killing him. You know, so she had that warning, and then she seemed to like have time to think it over, and she was calm in the church, and Gabriel talked to her. So the fact that she's she's kind of dangerous in a way because she doesn't think, she just reacts. And that, obviously now that's going to be her thing. Now she's got to deal with her actions, getting Eugene taken and getting Olivia killed. So that should be fun for her.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And now I'm like, I mean, the one thing I hate, you know, being a comic fan is knowing kind of sometimes how the arcs goes. And I'm confused because obviously usually the characters that may have lived on in the comics that are still there that died in the show, other characters absorb their traits and basically become that character with everything but their name, obviously. But for the longest time, I've been thinking that Andrea was going to be Sasha. Because, you know, Sasha, sniper like Andrea, the perfect shot and all this. But now, literally, the scarred face is Rosita's got. So I don't know. Now I'm like, I don't know what they're doing with that. Because obviously, Andrea plays a huge part in the coming story in the comics. So somebody's going to have to take up that mantle. But I can't for the life of me now. It seems like they're throwing with this facial scarring that they may be doing, giving Rosita the Andrea arc, but it's just, it's definitely different.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of traits of like Andrea's in a few of the female characters, Sasha and then Rosita. I think they kind of intermix those things, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Spencer definitely deserved it, so I don't know why Rosita is all upset, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like Negan. I think I'm going to put that out there. I think he did. I think Rick should have said thank you to Negan. I mean, honestly, Spencer was wanting to, like, totally... He didn't straight up say kill you, but if he had the chance, he probably would kill Rick. But he wanted somebody else to do it. So I thought it was very kind of Negan to take this threat out.
Yeah, I mean, he did a little bit of Rick's dirty work, because obviously him and Rick weren't gelling in the first place anyway, so he kind of did take care of of at least one of Rick's problems.
Right, exactly. Negan's a strange character. It's like he oddly respects Rick, you know? But then he also kind of has this hate for him. So it's a love-hate relationship. It's just funny to watch it play out.
Oh, yeah. And then actually, there's been some interesting news to come out of the finale, which may affect our second half of the season, may or may not. And I'm going to bring it up now because we were just actually talking about her, but Sonequa Martin Green was actually just cast as the female lead in the new Star Trek show on CBS.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, of course, because she's a terrific actress, and I'm glad to see her getting more and more high-profile roles. But at the same point, this is going to be a main character, so depending on her availability and the time that they're shooting it, Sasha may not survive the next half of this season.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I've kind of been watching her, and I almost wondered if. I mean, did you get to this is spoilers for comics, if anybody is wondering. Did you get to the part with Holly in the comics? I mean, you know where they went with Holly's character?
Yeah.
I almost wonder if that will be given to Rosita or Sasha. Maybe that's how Sasha goes out.
I could.
Because she did send, Jesus on this little mission behind Maggie's back. She could just, in the heat of the moment, because Sasha does kind of have what Rosita has, and she just reacts, She gets real caught up, just sees red. So you never know what could happen, and when they get in the thick of it, she might just throw herself in there, into the lion's den.
Very true.
That'd be kind of a cool way to go out, though.
That would.
If I were Sonequa, I'd be like, yes. I mean, come on. She'd get in there and be able to, say her piece to Negan, be the badass that she is, and then go out, in a good way. It's weird to say good way, but it always seems like in the show, the better death you're given, the more impact that means your character had on the show, so I'd be cool with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, she's actually one of my favorite characters, though. So I'm hoping that there's some way that they can work around the schedule. I mean, they might, and technically they may not even have to kill her off. I mean, look at Hawkins. I think Corey is his first name. From Straight Outta Compton, and he played Heath in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They just kind of technically didn't kill him off, so he could go film 24, but. Now his character's gone for an indeterminate amount of time. And, he went to go film that role. So they could just have her disappear for a while and then come back.
Let's hope, because I do like Sasha, too. Her and Maggie make a good little team. It'd be nice to have her stay with Maggie at the hilltop.
I agree. Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah. Now, Rosita, I like her sometimes, but she's really, just a jerk. She seems mad a lot of the time. I mean, I understand now, but she's really very catty. She just comes off bitchy sometimes. So, hey, if she gets axed, I think I'll be fine with it. Her instead of Sasha. I'll trade.
Right? Yeah, I'd be fine with that trade. Because once again, I mean, they really still haven't really built her up to anything. She's kind of one of the least memorable characters on the show. Obviously, she's starting to have some sort of story. But yeah, no, between her and Sasha, I would definitely want Rosita to go. I mean...
Right.
I mean, granted,
well,
if she doesn't go, if she maintains this and... meets up with the Whisperers, I mean, she had a pretty nice way to go on that, but, if it came down between her and Sasha for the show.
Yeah. Speaking of the Whisperers, in episode 7, do you remember when Rick and Aaron were out and that they were loading up ready to leave and that Boot came into frame? Walked into frame?
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
I
read an article that hinted at, is this the Whisperers? Do you think they'd bring them in at this point? Or this might just be, maybe a hint for, season 8? I don't think it would be this last half, but even next season seems kind of early to bring them in.
Well,
so I'm kind of curious.
They are flying through this arc a lot faster than I thought they would. Even with the extra episodes of building stuff up. I mean... It's looking like with the 7B trailer that premiered right after the finale, that probably the rest of this season's going to be the March to War storyline, with probably season 8 being all-out war. So, I mean, probably in the back half of season 8, we could very well see the Whisperers, because if they do all-out war...
They also have that time jump at that point, too.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to bring up.
Towards the end.
Right after All Out War, they have the 2-year time jump, which I don't think they're going to do in the show.
You don't think so? I don't think it'd be too hard to do, though, because, I mean, really, how much different do we look in 2 years?
Well,
I mean, Carl Carl look a little bit older with a haircut and, you know, certain clothes. They can do that, you know, so I think it'd be possible. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, they might. I mean,
Well,
it's
I don't know.
possible.
Yeah, they might because of the jail. I mean, they've hinted at the jail more than once.
But
So, I mean, they might do that just to show how much time has passed since
I
comic
don't
readers
know,
will know what. But
I don't know. I don't, like, I'm still, you know, looking at comic Negan when he's in jail. I just don't see them going with that look for Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan with really long black hair, long beard.
yeah.
Like, it just, the picture in my head is pretty laughable. I don't know. I just don't think he could rock. I think that's one look that he cannot rock.
He would go from, like, you know, he's got all the girls going wild, and then he would look like that, and he'd be like, oh, everyone would be like, never mind.
Yeah.
He may have a beautiful face, but this combination is not working.
No. Not at all.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, I don't. That's he can rock the crew and the short hair, but I can't. I mean, I could be wrong if somebody out there is listening and knows a role where he has really long hair and he rocks it. You know, feel free to let me know. But I can't recall ever seeing him with long hair, and it just seems out of place for him to have it.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Maybe I'm just thinking, and that's probably another reason why they may not go with the time jump, because you're like, oh god, we don't want Jeffrey to look really, really pathetic.
Right? Yeah. I guess they could show the time in other ways, but yeah, I mean...
Just dye his hair gray.
Right. Yeah, they could do that. I mean, he's already got it going on in the beard, so...
Yeah.
Give him the gray hair.
Yeah, that he does. Well, technically, as of right now, he doesn't have any. Because he did shave in the finale.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Negan was so, you know, he brought Carl back. You know, he didn't terrorize the Alexandrians when he came in. He made dinner. He took care of Judas. He was real, kicked it with Spencer for a while, played a game of pool with him. I mean, he was pretty reasonable. He did, you know what, he spent more time with Judas than Rick has in, like, how many seasons now? I feel like she should just go with Negan. All those wives he has, they could take care of her. She'd always have a mom.
Very true, yeah. I was half expecting, because obviously he shaved in the same place Rick shaved, and when Rick got in Alexandria, I was half expecting, Negan to come out with nothing but a towel and Alexander Breckenridge to offer him a haircut. But,
right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen, because I would have loved to have seen Alexander Breckenridge again.
I know, I'm sure you would.
I mean, technically, we didn't see her, after she got her arm chopped off. She could technically be a zombie. Zombie Alexander going around. Zombie Jesse offering free haircuts.
I don't know. They were looking like they were eating her pretty well. There was a lot of walkers on her.
Yeah, but she's a really, really skinny girl, so I don't think they bit off too much.
Look at you, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to find some way to make her survive.
Yeah, she's really skinny, so I think the zombies probably took a couple bites and were like, eh.
Right. Never mind.
We didn't see them bite. They could have technically been tickling her. We don't know.
Yeah, that's what we want to picture, it is tickling.
Exactly. It looks like zombies are going to be back in the next half of the season too, which is going to be pretty different since we really didn't see many this first half.
I know, that's true. They had that weird spiked one in the trailer.
Yeah, it looks like a Thunderdome zombie.
I know, like what the heck, what direction are we going here?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you gotta spice it up with the walkers.
Yep, and it returns February 4th, or no, not 14th, that was this year, February 12th next year. So it'll be here before we know
Seems like
it.
so long.
It does, but we're almost a month away already.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Gosh, Christmas is so close.
Yeah, Christmas is in, like, the end of the week.
I know, my birthday is the 23rd, too.
I know, you're going to be so old.
I know, ancient. I'm going to, like, instantly just get gray hair.
You're going to turn
Start
to dust.
going downhill. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so I guess this would be my final talk with you then. At that point, I'm going to be too old to carry on.
I'm still frail and hobbling about, though. I turned 28 in November, so I'm not dead yet.
Oh, so you're still doing good. Yeah.
So you might last a
There's
little while.
hope for me yet. Right.
Just know that if anything happens to me, that you might be the one that it's going to happen to next. So then you have time to prepare.
Okay. That sounds good.
So if you hear any stories about me turning into dust, then you're like, well, shit. Okay, well, he was this far into 28 when that happened, so now I got to look out for that.
Right. I have a little bit of fun.
I forgot to mention that quite a few of my friends were in the past 2 episodes of The Walking Dead.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, there was 2 of my friends were saviors in episode 7. They were there when Negan gave his whole speech, the ironing scene. They got to witness all of that. And then the other one was in the Negan scene in Alexandria. He was a savior as well. But he was in most of the shots. Like, whenever Negan's talking, you see this savior in the background that looks like straight out of Sons of Anarchy, long beard and long hair. Yeah, it's him. And so he got to see all of the fun stuff, like Spencer get gutted and everything. But he had like the choice placement because he's just chilling in the background the entire time.
No kidding. That's like the best. That's like the next best thing, over rather than being like a main character. But if you get to stand behind them, sweet, I'll do it. I'll do it all day long. I don't care. No line.
Well, actually, now if you were to go on the show, as a human, I mean, technically you could be a savior, yes, but you would probably either be a savior or one of Negan's wives, which I'm sure you'd probably prefer to be one of Negan's wives.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my gosh, I should be like, I'll just be a background wife. Put me, please. That'd be amazing.
It's like, yeah, you just call him back up. You're like, yeah, I'm kind of done with the Walker thing, I want to trade that right. W for a wife. So, yeah.
Right.
Is there any Negan's wives makeout scenes with Negan, that you need an extra for?
Right.
Because I'm down for that.
That's it. I should. Just put in for anything. Walker, Savior, I can do it all. What do you want?
Yes. But yeah, you're like Walker, Savior, preferable Negan's wife.
Right.
Makeout scenes only.
Right. Top of the list.
You want the character with the makeout scenes only.
Yeah. I'm gonna come in with quite the demand.
Exactly.
I demand to only be put in scenes with main actors and only make out with main actors. So, please hire me.
Exactly.
That's quite a resume.
Exactly. It's, look, I've got killed by them, now I must make out with them.
Right.
But yeah, it's...
I don't know.
It's looking like it's going to be a crazy back half. Hopefully obviously this next 8 episodes are going to be Rick rallying the groups together, actually, to fight Negan. But it's going to be I think a more faster moving show now, which is a good thing. I mean,
not that I didn't like the, I mean, I like that the entire episode wasn't as bad as people said it was, but I still stand by they should have just put a couple of those episodes together, intersperse them to make them move a little better. But even
Right.
we had James on the show last week when we interviewed him, and he had mentioned even when he had reread the comics that the slowest part of the comics were the part where they introduced the other group. So, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it takes time to introduce them, obviously, but thankfully we've made it past that. So that's not going to be...
Right.
Now we just go straight forward with the story. And people will die, probably, more than likely. And
Yeah.
we might see battles on the scale of Game of Thrones. Well, probably not, because there's no dragons or anything, but
Oh,
still.
man. It will be close. I don't think it'll be Game of Thrones level because nothing beats Game of Thrones. But it could be close. I mean, this is all-out war is pretty crazy. I mean, some shit really goes down.
I mean,
I don't know. I'm just happy to see. I mean, we had a whole half season of Rick being
a bitch.
I mean, he wasn't really being a coward. I mean, well, I don't want to say he was being a bitch because, I mean, I understood. He wasn't. I understood his position, but then again, it's like, all right, dude, come on. Seriously, we can't live like this. Let's talk about our options. Like, he didn't even want to talk about it. He's like, nope, we're not even going to talk about it. We're just going to do it. So now it's nice to see Rick as the Rick we all know. You know, Rick Tatership. Rick is back. So.
Oh yeah, no, he got his gun and his groove back by the end of the episode. So we're definitely Rick's gonna mess some stuff and things up.
Yeah, which is also kind of scary because we know he always doesn't make the best decisions. Especially, like I have thought about it like through the comic book and all that stuff, and I'm like, I mean, I know he tries, but sometimes I'm like, wow. Especially with this upcoming war, I'm like, he makes some dumb decisions. So I just hope he doesn't get too into his Rick-tatorship mode because then he acts careless sometimes.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to see. I think they're going to remix the comics relationship-wise. I mean, obviously, Andrea's not alive and Michonne's shacking up with Rick. I feel like, in the comics, Michonne and Ezekiel became... an item. I think they're going to do a little bit of Ebony and Ivory and mix Carol and Ezekiel.
Yeah, I've said that too because it's kind of like they both put on this mask when they, to other people. Carol puts on the Betty Homemaker or whichever thing she feels she needs to portray. And Ezekiel pretends to be a king. And then they both, they had that moment in the garden where they were talking. And, he kind of broke down to her and put the mask aside. And so I think that was the start. At first I didn't see it. But now when I think about it in the bigger picture, I'm like, yes, that might be a thing. And I'd be okay with that.
I would be too. And you know what? I will say this, that, Kari Payton is now like one of my favorite actors. After the interview that he did with my daughter this past weekend, I mean, he's just an amazing person. That gives me even more newfound respect towards not only Ezekiel, but he's definitely bumped up on my favorites list since this weekend for sure.
Yeah, he seems like he's pretty cool. I mean, he's Cyborg in Teen Titans Go, too, so...
Yes, he
is. That's pretty cool in itself. And then he's with The Walking Dead, so... Two cool things. I mean, he can only go up from here.
I think that's pretty much it. We covered episode 7 and 8. We covered the second half of season 7. Other than the first one, we didn't guess anybody else was going to die, but... yeah. So, well, we lost a couple more since Glenn and Abraham, but obviously none of that magnitude. I just hope we don't lose any more of Team Family. this second half, but we will.
Yeah,
we'll be,
I always say that too.
Yeah, we'll be finding out soon enough, and obviously we'll stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter and all the other social medias.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, that's pretty much it for the episode today. I do want to thank Rory again for coming on. I do want to thank Alyssa for over a month and a half ago recording the wrap-up with us. We'll be chatting with her again very shortly as the season continues. Now we look forward to episodes with Dave and Creech, and we're gonna have some great stuff coming out. You know, we just have to get over this hurdle right now. I've got some great interviews lined up. We've got some great interviews in the can. We're actually backlogged right now in interviews, which is always a great thing. And we've also got many more to come your way in the very, next couple of months. We're still setting up interviews and recording them. But that is going to wrap it up for this time. We will see you next week, I promise, on Dave and Creech. Once again, this was episode 47. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you follow Rory. Make sure you get those tickets to your Strip Club Massacre premiere. I mean, come on. You definitely want to see this giant body on a gigantic screen. Because this big guy can get even bigger. I can be about the size of a building if you give me a chance. But in all seriousness, yeah, if you're in Atlanta, buy the tickets, come see it. You won't regret it.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.